United States, the vast majority of whom are either refugees or the family members of refugees who fled during the Cambodian genocide from 1975 to 1979 and the subsequent 12-year civil war that occurred afterwards. On October 23, 1991, the dream of democracy in Cambodia was given hope through the Paris Peace Accords. The 19-nation international agreement sought to resolve political conflict and turmoil in Cambodia by setting forth the right to self-determination of its people through free and fair elections. Significant expenditures in the form of international aid have been made in order to promote a pluralistic, multi-party democratic system in Cambodia. Although elections have been held in Cambodia for the past 23 years, international observers agree they have been far from free and fair. Prime Minister Hun Sen has been in power in Cambodia since 1985 and has consolidated his authority over the nation's government, granting control of every state agency and security apparatus to his political party. The government of Cambodia has engaged in oppressive tactics aimed at limiting conditions that are intrinsic to a democratic state, including the restriction of its media environment by ordering radio stations to cease operations and by arresting journalists. Leading opposition parties have been dissolved and opposition party leaders have been arrested or exiled in an effort to repress viable political challenges. I first filed this legislation in a previous session in response to the 2018 election, the first in Cambodia following the dissolution of the opposition. I was a part of the Lowell City Council that year that voted unanimously on a resolution recognizing that the election was fraudulent. In the years since we have first pursued this legislation, the government of Cambodia has held another sham election, most recently this summer. This issue has widespread support in the city of Lowell and bipartisan support nationally. Lowell's Congresswoman Lori Trahan has co-sponsored bipartisan legislation to direct the president to impose sanctions on Cambodian officials who are responsible for anti-democratic actions and human rights violations. Senator Ed Markey and our former Governor Utah Senator Mitt Romney has joined other federal lawmakers from both parties in announcing a resolution commemorating the landmark of the Cambodia-Paris Peace Agreements. The Massachusetts legislature has a chance to join with other defenders of democracy in supporting these two bills. This resolution would simply send a message to our federal partners and our constituents, particularly those of Cambodian American descent, that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts stands with them in opposition to political oppression and joins in the hope of fair and free elections to finally arrive in Cambodia as was promised way back in 1991. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for letting me go a few seconds over the 3-minute mark.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you for your testimony. Representative Howard.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon, Vice Chair Capano, Chair Villas, Chair Cassidy, and esteemed members of the Joint Committee on Veteran and Federal Affairs. Thank you for taking me out of order. I am here to testify in support of Bills H-3507 and Senate 2326, a resolution condemning political oppression and encouraging free and fair elections in Cambodia. I co-filed with Senator Ed Kennedy. It was 32 years ago, last October, when the Paris Peace Agreement was signed to end decades of conflict in Cambodia. Prime Minister Hun Sen, in office for almost 4 decades, since 1985. However, since then, human rights violations and threats to democratic values by Prime Minister Hun Sen continue to undermine the rights of the Cambodian people. My fellow Cambodians and Cambodian American citizens continue to live under the rule of Prime Minister Hun Sen regime, despite being signatories to the very accords. Prime Minister Sen has undermined the accord's basic principle by violating and restricting the rights and well-being of of the Cambodian people. He has suppressed opposition parties such as the Candlelight Party and the Cambodian National Rescue Party. What we all want, whether you live here in the great city of Lowell, Massachusetts, or abroad, or anywhere in this country, is for Cambodia to be prosperous, democratic, and independent country where all voices are heard. Cambodian people should be allowed to exercise their voice and choice in shaping the future of their country and not compromising the true spirit of the country's constitution. It is my hope Cambodia will restore the multi-party system in democracy, reverse the convictions of government critics, and allow independent media outlets to resume immediately without any interference. Free and fair elections are a vital component of a democratic state in the protection of the liberty and human rights of its citizens. And that's the true definition of democracy. Last month, I joined Senator Ed Markey, Congresswoman Lori Trahan, and members of the Cambodian community in calling for the immediate release of innocent Cambodian political prisoners, at least about 250 of them, who are falsely imprisoned on baseless charges, including attorney Thierry Sane. The U.S. Department put out a press release following the July 23rd, 2023 national elections in Cambodia, and I quote, "The United States is troubled that the July 23rd Cambodian national elections were neither free nor fair. Ahead of the elections, Cambodian authorities engaged in a pattern of threats and harassment against the political opposition, media, and civil society that undermine the spirit of the country's constitution and Cambodia's international obligations. These actions deny the Cambodian people a voice and a choice in determining the future of their country." End quote. I respectfully urge the committee to report these bills out favorably. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for your testimony.
ចាក់ដៃតាមជួយចាក់ដៃបានណា
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Howard, your comments are powerful, and I know your backstory, and I'm proud to serve with you here in the State House. So you not only speak as a state representative, but your family has lived this. And if you don't mind, would you tell us a little bit about that?
I'm sorry, Ram, could you please repeat?
If you don't mind, could you just tell us a little bit about your backstory and your family?
Yes, thank you, Rep. I resettled in this country, in the United States, as a refugee. I arrived in the United States at the age of 11, having lived in the refugee camp in Thailand for 2.5 years. But prior to that, I'm a genocide survivor. I lived through the 4 years under the Khmer Rouge regime, where 6 of my immediate family members were killed, slaughtered, and starved. That was my father, my 3 younger siblings, and 2 of my maternal grandparents. And so I lived it. I know what it's like to live under oppression of the current government.
Thank you. I'm proud of you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Representative. Are there any other questions? Thank you so much for your passionate testimony. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no more questions. I'd like to call up the next speaker, Senator James Eldridge.
Thank you so much, really appreciate it. To the interim chair, to Chair Vilas, Chair Cassidy, and members of the Joint Committee on Veterans and Federal Affairs. I'm here to testify in support of my bill, which I've co-filed with Representative Carmine Gentile.